It's almost 2 in the morning. You're sitting in the blue glow of your laptop with a cup of coffee that went cold an hour ago, and you have 14 browser tabs open. Nothing is wrong. The market didn't crash today. Your account didn't lose money. But you can't stop staring at your portfolio because a small voice in the back of your head keeps whispering the same question. Is this smart enough? Is this sophisticated enough? Surely a person who really knew what they were doing wouldn't just own 3 boring funds. So you go looking. You read an article about factor investing, and it sounds brilliant, so you decide you need a small cap value tilt. Then you fall into a thread about international diversification, and now you're worried you don't have enough emerging markets exposure. Somebody mentions REITs. Somebody else swears by commodities as an inflation hedge. A guy with a very confident username explains covered calls. And by the time the sun is coming up, you have taken a perfectly healthy 3-fund portfolio and turned it into a tangled 20-position machine that you only half understand. Here's the twist that took me years to accept. That 20-position machine you built at 2 in the morning will almost certainly perform worse than the 3 boring funds you started with. Not sometimes. Not only in a crash. Almost always. The simplest, most boring portfolios tend to quietly beat the complicated, sophisticated ones over time. And today, I want to show you exactly why that happens. Because once you see it, you can't unsee it. And it might save you a shocking amount of money. Let's start with why this is so hard to believe. Because the resistance is the whole problem. From the time we're kids, we're taught one equation. More effort equals better results. Study more, get better grades. Train harder, run faster, do more, achieve more. It's true almost everywhere in life. So when someone tells you that in investing you should do less, check it rarely, and basically leave it alone, it doesn't feel like wisdom. It feels like laziness. It feels like you're being financially irresponsible. But investing is one of the very few arenas on earth where that equation flips upside down. The harder you try to optimize, the more friction you create, and the more you quietly sabotage the returns you would have gotten just by sitting still. Now, if complexity hurts your returns, why is everybody so drawn to it? And here's the uncomfortable answer. A lot of the pull toward complicated portfolios has nothing to do with money at all. Think about the dinner party. If you tell people, oh, I just own a total US fund, a total international fund, and some bonds, the conversation dies instantly. Nobody leans in. But if you say, well, I'm running a barbell strategy, long duration treasuries on one side, a bit of speculative growth on the other, with a small cap value tilt and a little volatility sleeve, suddenly people lean in. You sound like a serious player. Complexity is a costume. It signals intelligence, effort, sophistication. And we are wired to want to wear it. I think of complex portfolios as the financial version of Instagram. On the feed, everything looks incredible, curated, impressive. Behind the scenes, the reality is messy, exhausting, and often kind of miserable. The portfolio that photographs well is rarely the portfolio that actually performs well. And before you assume this is just a beginner's mistake, let me pop that idea too. This trap catches the professionals just as hard. Picture a fund manager with a PhD sitting in front of 40 different asset classes and 17 analytical frameworks. Every one of those tools is a temptation. If they don't use all of them, some part of their brain screams that they're being lazy, that they're leaving value on the table. So they use everything, and the machine gets more complicated and more expensive and more fragile. Having more tools doesn't make them build better. It makes them build busier. Okay, so that's the psychology. But maybe you're thinking, feelings are nice. Show me the numbers. Fair enough. The data here is brutal, and it's remarkably consistent. Start with the simplest comparison in the world. A plain S&P 500 index fund, the definition of boring, versus actively managed large cap funds run by teams of highly paid experts. Over 15-year stretches, that boring index fund has historically beaten roughly 90% of those active funds. 90%. And remember, those active managers are listening to earnings calls, running quantitative screens, building elaborate factor models, doing everything the complexity gospel says you should do. And 9 times out of 10, the fund that just sat there and owned the whole market won. Now let me tell you my favorite story in all of investing, because it makes this concrete. Back in 2007, one of the most famous investors alive made a very public bet. On one side, a simple, cheap S&P 500 index fund. On the other side, a hand-picked basket of 5 funds of funds chosen by a top hedge fund manager. This was the smart money strategy taken to its peak. Dozens of underlying hedge funds, brilliant analysts, sophisticated tactics, the whole cathedral of complexity. The bet ran for 10 years, and when the dust settled, the boring index fund had returned somewhere around 125%. The dazzling, expensive basket of hedge funds returned about 36%. It wasn't close. The tortoise didn't just win, it lapped the hare. But here's a subtler number that might matter to you even more, because it's about you, not about hedge funds. There's a research firm called Dalbar that studies something called the behavior gap. The behavior gap is the difference between what an investment returns and what the average investor in that investment actually earns. You'd think those should be the same, right? They're not. Investors consistently earn something like 1.5% to 2% less per year than the very funds they're holding. Why? Because they can't sit still. They buy when things feel exciting and expensive, and they sell when things feel scary and cheap. The fund did fine. The human holding it kept getting in its own way. And that points us straight at the real cost of complexity, which comes in 2 forms, 2 taxes you pay for being sophisticated. The first is the obvious one, the financial cost. A simple index fund might charge you 3 to 5 basis points. That's basically nothing. A few cents on every $100. A fancy actively managed fund or a complex structured product might charge you 80 basis points, 1%, 1.5%, sometimes more. That sounds tiny. It is not tiny. Run that gap across 30 years of compounding, and it doesn't quietly nibble at your wealth. It devours it. We're talking about hundreds of thousands of dollars that silently leak out of your future. Not into the market, but into fees, for the privilege of a strategy that probably underperforms anyway. But the second tax is the deadly one, and almost nobody talks about it. Call it the behavioral tax. When your portfolio has 20 moving parts, every single part becomes a decision you feel you have to manage. Your small cap value tilt lags for 18 months, and now you're lying awake wondering if you should dump it. Emerging markets drop 10% while the US rips higher, and your fingers are itching to rebalance right now. Every extra piece you add is another tripwire for your own anxiety. Here's the analogy that finally made it click for me. A simple portfolio is like typing your destination into the GPS and then climbing into the back seat. You're still going exactly where you want to go. You're just not driving, and you're not fighting the wheel. A complex portfolio is like letting your anxiety ride shotgun and grab for the steering wheel every few minutes. Complexity manufactures what I'd call cognitive events, constant little moments where you're forced to make a choice, and every one of those choices is a fresh chance to panic, to second guess, to abandon a perfectly good plan that only needed you to leave it alone. Now, at this point, some people push back, and I get it. They say, I don't want a good enough portfolio. I want better than good enough. Good enough sounds like settling. So let's kill that objection too, because it's built on an illusion. Good enough investing, done consistently for decades, doesn't produce good enough results. It produces genuinely extraordinary ones. Take a plain allocation, say 60% US market, 30% international, 10% bonds. Historically, something like that has returned around 7 to 8% a year after inflation. That is not a boring number. That is the exact rate of compounding that turns steady monthly contributions into life-changing wealth over a working lifetime. You don't need a better engine. You need to stop opening the hood every week. I like to picture it as a stool. A simple portfolio is a 3-legged stool. It's rock solid, it does its job, and it needs 0 maintenance. A complex portfolio is you trying to build a 12-legged stool because it theoretically distributes the weight better. But now, you've got 12 joints that can fail instead of 3. One leg cracks and the whole thing gets wobbly fast. And here's the thing, almost nobody on Earth actually needs a 12-legged stool. Yes, complexity earns its keep in a few rare corners, things like tax loss harvesting or direct indexing for people with genuinely enormous, complicated wealth. But if you're a normal person building a retirement, those edge cases are simply not your life. So what does the simple version actually look like? There isn't one single correct answer, but the range of good answers is shockingly narrow. Some blend of a total US market index fund, a total international index fund, and a bond allocation set to how much risk you can stomach. That's it. That's the whole recipe. And this is the part people can't accept. They obsess over the mix. Should it be 70 US and 30 international, or 65 and 35? Over a 30-year horizon, honestly, that difference is just noise. Compounding is a highway, and your portfolio is the car. Simple investing is setting the cruise control and letting the road carry you. Complex investing is weaving across every lane looking for a faster route and getting stuck in traffic you never saw coming. The only things that genuinely move the needle are low costs, broad diversification, and the discipline to let the money run. Which brings us to the one truth I want you to walk away with. The biggest threat to your financial future is not the market. It's not a crash, it's not a recession, it's not some black swan event. It's your own behavior. The people who quietly build the most wealth are almost never the flashy ones bragging about leveraged bets. They're the ones who boringly, relentlessly poured money into plain index funds for 30 years and refused to touch it. Real investing intelligence doesn't look exciting. It doesn't look like a clever strategy you can show off at a dinner party. It looks like patience. It looks like restraint. It looks like the discipline to strip out every piece of expensive, complicated noise standing between you and your returns. So here's my question for you, and I genuinely want to read your answers. What's one complicated thing in your portfolio right now that you could simplify or cut entirely? Drop it in the comments, because I promise other people are wrestling with the exact same thing. If this shifted how you see your own money even a little, hit that like button so it reaches somebody at 2 a.m. with 14 tabs open. And subscribe, because we cut through this kind of financial noise every single week. Keep it simple out there, and I'll see you in the next one.